I think nowadays, honestly, this assumption that you got to ship fast and iterate fast, it might be going away, and it might be in a way where it's like you have to build a really good product so then you can get people to stick with it. I think that we're heading back in that direction.
Welcome back to another episode of the Revenue Reimagined podcast. We have an amazing guest with us today that is changing the way y'all are buying software. We have Troy Munson with us, who's a longtime seller, having worked at brands like MongoDB and Metadata. He has turned CEO and founder of Dimmo, who, like I said, is aiming to change the way not only that you buy software, but that you evaluate it. Because let's face it, having to go talk to 5, 6, 7 people just to get a quote, to then talk to 5, 6, 7 more people, isn't a pleasant experience for any of us. Troy, welcome to the show, man.
Adam, one hell of an intro. Thank you so much for having me.
You could use it and just drop it like on your website.
Every time. It's his radio background. It's funny. It's the one thing we got to give him props for. Super interesting on Dimmo. I've been doing some research on the company, and it's everything that's broken about like buying software. We do it a lot for our clients. But tell us a bit about like why you did it, why you started the company. Probably trying to scratch an itch that you were dealing with in the past. That happens a lot. So tell the audience a bit.
Yeah, you know what's funny is so at Dimmo we have a podcast where we let our customers have essentially allow them to pitch their product, right? And so the whole idea is like, how do we get people to know more about technology without having to jump into a sales cycle? And so the reason why I bring that up is because it seems like everybody is trying to scratch their own itch, or maybe an itch that they had. And mine wasn't that way. So it was actually pretty interesting. Mine was more so, how the hell can I pay off my mortgage without using my W-2 income? That's what I wanted to do. I didn't care about anything else. I was like, let me just make my mortgage from a side gig and life will be good. We can use our money for vacations, everything like that. And so I was headed home from the gym one day and I was like, you know what? People hate buying software. It's not fun. Then you have companies like Novatic and Toriel and all these companies out there that do interactive demos, right? That go and help and, people evaluate software, play with the software, things like that. And I was reading the benchmark report days before of Novatic, essentially just saying like, stats on how much people want to buy software. So I was headed home from the gym and I was like, why don't I just do a demo day where I have 5 companies, they all target the same ICP. So the very first one, you mentioned Metadata, they actually are an ABM software. So the very first one was an ABM demo day, just ABM software. So we had 5 different ABM companies, but I was headed home from the gym and I was like, I'm going to host a demo day where it's 5 companies and then they all target the same ICP. They pay me, I'll drive the registrants, and then they get to know who came. Like that was it. Went home and literally within a couple of hours, 12 companies said, yes, I will pay for this. And I was making up numbers. I was literally like, I'll drive you anywhere from 100 to 300 registrants. Just give me a few $100. And I was able to, luckily, but I had no idea what, how to host a webinar, what webinar software. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, let me see if people will pay for this, because then I can go pay for my mortgage and be happy. All that to say is, 4 demo days later, and before the first one, I brought on Sarah Brazier, who is a co-founder, and then Lucas Schwarzenberg, he's also another co-founder. Sarah really was there to help me drive registrants. I was like, Sarah, I can't drive registrants alone. I need your help. So yeah, all that to say is it mainly started off as a demo day, but then there was just this huge shift in the market where like outbound doesn't work at the same time as people want to buy the way they want to buy, and then sales reps are not hitting quota. And I was like, why don't we just create a way for people to evaluate software at scale? So that's how it was created.
So it's funny, right? You talk about how outbound doesn't work. The demo day I love. So fun fact, Troy, I actually used to lead sales for Reprise, which competes with Novatic and Toriel. I'm in full disclosure, an advisor for DemoStack. And I think all of those things have their place, but it doesn't give you the full picture, right? Like that is a very scripted 5 to 8 clicks, maybe 15 at most, of I'm going to show you the best pieces of exactly what I want to show you. And it's not buying software. It's just, hey, here's a little guided tour. It's a little better than a demo, right? I was talking about this with the founder the other day, who's like, why don't we just put a 10-minute demo up on our website? I'm like, because no one will ever watch it. But that's a whole separate conversation. So I think when you talk about changing how people buy software, like the market is certainly ripe for this right now. I'd love to know, just like you're working with a lot of software companies. What makes them want to pop up their software on Dimmo, be a part of the platform? What's the ROI that they feel they're getting? And how do they articulate that where their salespeople don't feel like, oh shit, you're trying to eliminate me?
Yeah, yeah. So I've been a long time sales rep. And then speaking of like the Nevada reprises and things like that, we have partnerships with Walnut,
Yeah.
Nevada, Tutorial, like a lot of them. Like that's, you can put an interactive demo on Dimmo, which is great.
Hmm.
But speaking of the sales rep thing, I have been a long time sales rep for the last 7, 8 years. And to be honest, a lot of the calls, especially if it's coming from like an SDR or something like that, a lot of those calls are just a waste of time. They're not qualified. They're not ready to buy. My whole thesis is less at the end of the day, demo or not, take demo out of the equation. Sales teams will become leaner. Like I truly believe that sales teams will become leaner because there's just going to be easy access to get what you need. And so take them out of the picture. Now bring it back in. My idea is how do we get somebody educated to come inbound and say, hey, I already know about you. I also know about Nevada. It's between you two. Like, tell me why you're different. It's like they already know that they're in market. They're ready to buy. They're ready to talk to you. I would love that as a sales rep. So I don't want to remove sales reps at all, right? Like that's not the case. I think there's a lot of technology out there that can be transactional that aren't transactional, and they're wasting like 220K OTE on a sales rep. Don't get me wrong. But that's to the sellers. I hope this helps. Like I hope you get more qualified leads. I hope you reduce your sales cycle length, and I hope you increase your ACV, because your job's not to sell that first initial land price. Now it's like, they're in market. Use your sales skills to expand the deal and strategically make it from a 5-figure deal to a 6-figure deal. That's kind of how I imagine it.
I love it.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Like, and that's what we talk to a lot of clients about, because it's been go to market's just been shifting so much, right? The outbound's not really working. You said something interesting about, SDRs and there's a whole rise on the SDR world, and then we've had challenges getting in front of people. And so as I was looking through Dimmo and having a look through who's on your website, it started making me think like this is a great alignment and partnership with like Nearbound. So, somebody that has some connections or conversations, and they push them to Dimmo to go look at the software instead of like, so it's almost like one more cycle. So you get a referral. They're like, yeah, I'm curious about what the software is, but instead of going directly to the company, they go to Dimmo to kind of take a look at it. Then they go to the company. So it's almost like a force multiplier with Nearbound.
Yeah. And kind of to add on to that, soon there will be a way to share a demo. Like our whole thing is kind of like this ChatGPT play, right? Like AI was around way before ChatGPT, but what they did was they made it so easily accessible and shareable, and that it just took the world by storm. Like it was there, right? And so a lot of ways that I want to go to market is like, how do you get people to just talk about it, share it, and things like that. And Adam, one thing that I did was ignore your question about the ROI, and I apologize about that.
That's quickly, okay. We all
Dale ignores me all the time, man.
Hey, my wife would say I do the same thing to her. So, real quickly, ROI completely free to be hosted on Dimmo. If you want to have any sort of idea of like who's in market to buy solutions, kind of like the G2 playbook, that's when you pay for us. When it comes to what kind of ROI you get, it all depends. We've noticed that sales tech gets a pretty heavy ROI. So, for example, I can't say their name, unfortunately, but somebody came up to me at HubSpot inbound and he was like, Troy, I got to thank you. And I was like, why? Like, you're one of our early access customers. I should thank you. I owe you for like trusting in me before this was even a platform. And he goes, because of Dimmo, we're about to close our largest deal ever. And I was like, that's the shit that I love. Like, that's what I want to hear over and over and over. But so yeah, ROI, it's if you're in sales tech, I think it's really heavy. And I think that's because my audience, Sarah's audience, is really sales heavy. But we're heavily investing in just content to make sure that everybody gets a really good ROI.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because the ROI piece is important, but I like what you said about not wanting to take the sales rep's job, right? Like this is to arguably shorten the sales cycle, let people evaluate on their own until they're ready to talk to a sales rep. We're all buyers, right? Like we're all sellers, but we're all buyers. And I can tell you, Dale, what have I bought? Like 10 pieces of software for us since we started, plus countless Troy for our customers. And probably 9 out of 10 times I've done all my research beforehand. I've spoken to, whether it be Troy or Sarah or Dale and got their opinion. I've tried to go online. I've even had some folks who have broken terms of service and let me play it in their instance, which I think is a very real problem that you solve, right? Like you don't want people in other people's instances, but I want you to be able to like see this and use this. And then when I'm ready, I do want to talk to a sales rep because I don't believe I'm going to get the best price or understand everything I can just by going online and clicking through. But I'm armed with so much more data. And then I think it really makes that sales rep's job much easier because I come in knowing exactly what I want to talk about. Save your 45-minute demo script, save your Spanish Inquisition of discovery questions, and let's talk about what's really important. Are there, when it comes to buying software, like are there certain companies that are better or certain size companies or certain softwares that are better suited for this? Or do you think that this is really the future of any type of software that you can buy?
Yeah, so this is a great question, and it's one I think about a lot. And in the beginning, you're always trying to narrow down like who is the best fit for your technology, regardless of what company you work at. Um, and what I think is, I think the future of buying software absolutely depend. Like, I don't think you're going to buy IBM. I don't think that you're going to buy like these large ass companies through like some sort of marketplace. Maybe like Azure Marketplace, you can start the instance there and things like that. Like the cloud marketplaces, they own those enterprise markets, right? Like, I don't know if I would ever want to compete with that. But I think like give your definitely like your emerging startups, your small businesses, your mid markets. I think that you would be able to evaluate in depth. Like I think we're just scratching the surface of what AI can do when it comes to like
Mm-hmm.
evaluating technology, comparing technology. Like I think we haven't even sniffed it, to be honest. I believe that there's so much you can do with AI when it comes to evaluation. Um, but that's what I see. I see, and maybe even lower enterprise. Like I used to work at Proofpoint. I'd consider them multi-billion-dollar company. I'd consider them an enterprise company. Um, Definitely would be able to evaluate that software, and they're even on our site. But you can definitely evaluate that software and then go inbound. So I really think everybody can benefit from it. And if the traffic just continues to grow week over week, I think like at the end of the day, it's why wouldn't you want your platform on there? Some people get a little, what about my competitor watching it? We have ways around that too. But yeah, I
Everyone knows
think,
everyone else's stuff. Like
dude,
if you want to get to a competitor's demo, you can do it.
yeah, regardless, like you can do anything to, I just think that we've added a little bit of friction for that. And if you add a little bit, it weeds out the majority. But still, if you're really dying to know what's going on with the competitor, you're going to figure it out.
Yeah, you'll secret shop it.
Yeah.
People know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think about going through this as like looking on the other side, do the buyers really know what they're trying to solve for? So, this kind of takes out the discovery aspect of this where they think they have a problem and they may be solving the branch of the problem, not the root of the problem. And do they get themselves into a pinch where they're buying software they may not even need, and the root of the problem is a completely different issue? And I'm curious about your perspective on that.
Yeah, so we actually soft launched it. It's on our site right now, and it's just the version one of it. We'll announce it publicly next week, so probably by the time this airs. Um, yes, so right now we are coming out with a way to at least leverage AI and then our proprietary data to. And I hate that. I hate saying that we're leveraging AI because everybody's doing it, right? Like it's not hot anymore, and
Right.
so I hate saying it, but we have to, right? And so the way that I see it is like you can go in and evaluate a technology and be like, hey, I'm using Zoom Info today. I'm not happy with it. What should I be looking at? And instead of just saying, hey, here's 20 technologies that you should look at, it actually responds with a question first. What don't you like about Zoom Info? Is it the contact accuracy? Is it the price? Is it the customer support? Give us a little bit more information, and then we'll point you in the right direction. That's literally if you go to our site today, it would literally do that to you. And so our whole goal is like Zoom Info, great for an enterprise company, right? But if you go to a startup, we're not going to be spending $1,000 a head to go get contact data. We can use Apollo, we can use Wizzo, we can use so many different technologies. And so what we're doing is making sure that the technology that we recommend is based on specific problems. So for example, like I said, it would say, give us more details about your problems. And you could say, yes, it's contact data accuracy and the price seems to be a little bit too high. What should I be looking at? What we're trying to do is recommend people based on their answers, right? Recommend people technology based on their ICP. So like, does this company fit well with their ICP? And then does it solve the challenges that they're talking to us about? So that's how I see that. And like I said, I feel like we're just sniffing the surface right now. it's in a way where you can only give the data that you have, right? And I feel like over time, the more data that we collect and the more that we know, like, hey, given this person's specific root problem, because we're trying to like eliminate that first discovery call with this. Oh, there's new
Mm,
words. We're trying to eliminate
nice.
that. I know we're trying to eliminate that first discovery call with this AI, like that just canned bant kind of questions, and even maybe that SDR qualification call. And I think this can do that really well. But yeah, we want to make sure we're recommending like the right technology for the right company, for the right person, for the right problem, versus just saying, yeah, here's 20 alternatives to Zoom info.
People buy from people. That's why companies who invest in meaningful connections win. The best part? Gifting doesn't have to be expensive to drive results, just thoughtful. Sendoso's intelligent gifting platform is designed to boost personalized engagement throughout the entire sales process. Trust me, I led sales for a Sendoso competitor, and I could tell you no one does gifting better than Sendoso. If you're looking for a proven way to win and retain more customers, visit sendoso.com. Yeah, it's every product. I feel like every product can be represented here, right? Like there is Zoom Info, Apollo, and I think Wizzo was the other one you said. I actually just heard about that for the first time the other day. So definitely on my list to go check out. But it goes back to this one theme that I keep hearing over and over again, and it's simplifying the process and giving options. And you're right. Like I'm at a client offsite right now. And one of the things the client said to me is, well, why don't we just go get Zoom Info? I'm like, because the cost is prohibitive for your two reps and your $4,800 ACV. Like the math doesn't make sense. But there are so many other options. We were talking about like waterfall and clay and why we wouldn't use it. But with a tool like Dimmo, it's like you're going to know that there are more things than Zoom Info out there. And listen, I love me Zoom Info, right? For a lot of reasons. But for smaller companies also, they've done a great job of being brand leaders, and they're not a good fit for every company. And to be able to know that there are other things out there that you can look at, I think are really important. Troy, I want to shift gears a little bit just to kind of like founder mode more so than demo. Looking at your LinkedIn, I think you founded a company before, if I'm not mistaken. And going from being a seller to a founder and a CEO, it's different, right? It's a whole different mindset. And I'm sure when you were talking with folks, and probably even now, there's a lot of people who want to give you a lot of advice on how to build your company and what to do and what not to do and how to do it. And like, make sure you do that. What are one or two assumptions that people have like told you or that are commonly held beliefs about building a company that as you're building Dimmo, you've said, fuck it, not following that, we're going to do this way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say one assumption is essentially like validate the idea. I didn't validate shit for demo. I was like, fuck this.
I
Like,
love it.
I know where the market's headed just because it's like there's companies like Nevada or Tutorials that are just like they're bringing in
Yeah.
cash, right? And so that's one thing is like needing to validate the idea. And I think that's it's so easy to spin up tech these days. You can go, and I think it's so easy to generate at least your first bit of revenue these days. It's easier than ever before to get those first few customers, and people think it's hard or it's confusing. So I think that's one. Um, and I think actually this might be a hot take. I don't know. Everybody that says something's a hot take is typically like lukewarm, if that. And so um, I think um, a lot of people say ship fast and then reiterate.
Mm,
And I agreed. I agreed for like the last several years, and I think that was the playbook for several years. But I think maybe now because there's so many technologies, like your product is kind of what makes you that differentiator, and it is what makes you stand out. We shipped the first part of demo really fast, for sure. But then we didn't make another shipment for a while. Like we wanted to build a lot of things in the background and make sure that it worked out because our website is our product. If you have a shit experience, you're not going to stay on a website, and like, that's bad, right? And so I think nowadays, honestly, this assumption that you got to ship fast and iterate fast, it might be going away, and it might be in a way where it's like you have to build a really good product so then you can get people to stick with it. I think that we're heading back in that direction where it's like less of ship fast, iterate fast, and it's more of like let's button it up, let's polish it. Like don't take forever to ship, right? But like I kind of think that.
like good enough's not good enough anymore. It's
No.
almost like in the go-to-market space, it's shifting so quickly. Same thing, because if people were in this like 8-second world, like Instagram, like looking through things, if people don't get it right away, they don't see the value, they just like will bounce off of it, and all of a sudden, like you have a usability problem. We talk to a lot of investors, and one of the things that they don't look at enough is active daily users or monthly active
Mm-hmm.
users. Like, okay, great, you have 10 customers, but like what's the real usage on the back end of it, and are you delivering the value you promise in the sales cycle on these users, or are you just shipping products super quick? So
Yep.
totally
Yeah.
aligned.
Very overlooked.
Yeah, I want to. I saw on your LinkedIn profile, and I really appreciated this one. You started a consulting company. I'm sure you've done this in the past before, but the consulting, the term is, I help founders bring products to life and acquire their first customers by doing two things: early product development and vision, and creating a go-to-market plan. But the thing that was really interesting to me is, if you do more than 200K ARR, this isn't for you. So tell the audience a little bit about what that means, like what you're trying to accomplish, how you're trying to help, because it sounds like you're trying to give back to the community going through this process.
Yeah. So the reason why I said that is one, well, now I could probably change it. I made that, and I still do this, and I only help 3 companies a month. At the point, I'd never scaled a company to 200K in ARR. So the other 2 companies that I created, they were in the 5 figures of ARR, and then they're all side gigs. And then my gut was like, this isn't a big enough problem to solve. Let me try to sell this. And I was luckily able to sell a couple of them. But so what I like to do, and I have a call actually tomorrow, is there's so many people ever since I quit from I actually got forced into like full-time in Dimmo, funny enough, but ever since I went full-time, there's so many people. I made an announcement about it, and there's so many people that have this idea. A lot of them are sellers, right? A lot of sellers have these ideas, but they don't want to leave their W-2 because they're making 200K a year, and it's hard to leave that. Totally understand. Was in the same exact boat. I tried to ride that W-2 wave as much as I could. And they had these ideas. And so what I love to do is like actually help them from a product perspective. I'm not a technical guy at all, but from a product perspective, like as a seller for the last 8 years and actually helping sellers pretty much every single week, these are the issues that are happening. Here's what I think the product needs to look like. And then I love let's go find your first customers. Let's get that first person to pay you some sort of money, $500, $1,000, $20.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. I love that part. Like, so going from an idea to actually like incorporating as an LLC or a C Corp, and then building the product, and then getting your first customers. So that's really what I focus on, is like, let's take your idea into a product, into a customer, and then like I'm going to kind of detach, and I'm available via text kind of thing. So that's what I do there.
Love that.
Yeah.
It's I'm stoked, man. Like there's not a lot of products that come out or technology that come out that I'm like, wow, like this is something that really makes sense. And I might be a little biased because of my time at Reprise and my work with Demo Stack, where like I get the space a little bit. But even just some folks that I've spoken to, before we had you on the show, like looking at some of the clients on Dimmo, and speaking to some folks who are actively using it, like it's super cool to see that, especially when you didn't validate, right? You're just like, oh, this is a cool idea. And it's like, wow, like this could really turn into something. So I think that, being able to see that is cool. When you look at to maybe 3 to 4 years from now, where's Demo going? Like, are you looking to become this big company that has, X number of people and, substantial, I mean, we all want substantial revenue growth, but, other verticals, or like, is this more of a couple people, dare I say, lifestyle, make life really easy, but make some money? Like, where's your vision?
Small team, big acquisition, no IPO. I never want to run a company with hundreds of employees, and I'm the reason why you can put kids on your food on your kids' plate, not kids on your food's plate.
Kids on your food's plate? I like that one too.
Yeah. So I don't ever want to be like, hey, by the way, I've got to lay off 30% of you guys, and I hope that you guys can go feed your family and stuff now. Never want to be in that position. So my goal, and it's always been my goal, my wife knows this, go and sell a company for 8 figures. And so that's what I want to do. And if it's more, great. but that's the goal for Dimmo. At the end of the day, I also want transactions to happen through Dimmo too. I think that small businesses, instead of going to pay 180 to 250K OTE for a sales rep, I think that a lot of small businesses can do transactions through Dimmo. But that's, you mentioned a few years away, so like that's probably a couple years away, maybe less. Who knows? But
We're going to have Dimmo payments. We're going to have, I love it.
right.
Not only can you sign up through Dimmo and you could get your percentage, but let's run the payments through Dimmo and we'll take a percentage of the credit card revenue as well.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, good idea. I'm going to write that one down.
And it's as you go through the evolution of your company, I'm curious a little bit how your leadership style has changed from like going from sales rep, now you're running a company. Like when you think about evolution of your leadership, what's the one thing that's been like that you did in the past that you don't want to pull into the future?
Yeah, so it's funny. I've always been an IC, so I've always just been a sales rep, and it's more so what do I take from managers that I've had in the past that I like, and then that I dislike. One thing that I hate about leadership is just having to manage people. I think I don't know. It's even like we have one employee, we have two co-founders, or three total co-founders, including myself, and then one employee. And I hate knowing that like I'm that person's boss. It's such a strange thing to me. Like she's like, you're my boss. And it feels weird to me. Like I just want to work with you, alongside with you, to build a badass company. Like, that's what I want to do. So like one thing that I like doing is like last night, actually 8:30 p.m. I texted her. I was like, hey, you're crushing it. I appreciate you. I appreciate that you're here. Something like that. Like, I just love like being able to like let them know like, hey, you're doing a kick-ass job. And then what I don't want to really do is become like that manager that's always breathing down your neck, asking what you're doing. Why aren't we delivering? Like for me,
You don't want to become Dale.
yeah, I don't want to become Dale. Like that's the last part. No. So yeah, for me, it's like we're heavily invested in content, because content at the end of the day is what's going to drive traffic. And I know it's a slow game, but as a CEO, I'm like, I need quick wins too. But I don't want to be like, hey, why isn't our traffic going up as much as I was hoping? Because it's such a slow game with content. But yeah, I think it's interesting going from just an IC to a leader, and it's just taking like the good traits of my managers and then removing the bad traits from the past. Also just being so transparent. Like every week I let her know like, hey, this is how much money we have in the bank. This is how much runway, like all that stuff. That's laid out. Like I'm not going to hide that shit.
I love that.
Yeah. Lots of good insight. Troy, what I'd love to do, man, first off, thank you for sharing the vision, how it started, where you're looking to go. Super exciting. I'd love to dive into some rapid fire. We have a few minutes here. Want to put you on the hot seat. The rules are 10 words or less for every answer. Otherwise, Dale has a super secret gong that comes out and bops you in the head. All right, here we go. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
If you weren't in tech, what other profession or hobby would you have?
Golfing or real estate.
Okay. Nice.
What's your favorite guilty pleasure snack?
Buffalo wings and ice cream.
Together?
No, separate.
New flavor of ice cream I don't know about?
What's the first app you check when you wake up?
LinkedIn.
Favorite book or podcast other than ours related to entrepreneurship?
Atomic Habits is a classic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last one, let's wrap it up. Dream vacation destination.
Maybe Australia right now.
Nice. Very nice. Always been on my list. Troy, thank you so much for joining the show, man. We appreciate it. Where can people go check out Dimmo?
Yeah, Dimmo.ai, Dimmo.ai.
Go check it out. Redefine how you're buying software. Educate yourself. Make it easy. Accelerate that sales process. And you're making life easy for both you and them. Troy, thanks for joining, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.